Yes, thrown in jail and experimented on and murdered. That is our future unless we try and put a stop to it. And of course, Owen is just the latest example of government overreach, government tyranny, and they will be coming for you next, just like they'll be coming for me next. So we are all Owen Schroyer in this case. Whether you like InfoWars or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, he's being railroaded. He's being thrown in jail for absolute BS reasons, and I think you guys know that. You can tell just by watching those two short videos that we watched. So welcome. You have reached another Diamond Report Live. This is your host, Doug Diamond, for the next little while. Probably will go a couple hours, I'm guessing. It is 10:07 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, September 17th, 2023. Well, I am back in my normal place, as you can see, and it's good to be back, although I do have some more traveling coming up. So I don't think that will affect the next live stream, though. We will go on like it's not going to be affected. I don't think it will be, and if it will be, I will certainly let you guys know. But thank you guys for being here. I sure appreciate it. Got folks watching on Rumble and my two Facebook pages, as well as YouTube. So welcome all. Let's take a look at the news. We've got quite a few things to take a look at. We've got lots of tabs across the top of the screen and just a few videos. Not too many videos tonight, but we'll see where we end up. So yeah, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Let's start with HalTurnerRadioShow.com. This is the first article I have pulled up here, front and center, on his website. NATO planning for $3.5 million to serve if the war in Russia starts. Well, it's already started, right? We are already at war with Russia. It's not a proxy war anymore. We're at real war. It's just going to get worse from here. In the event of a direct war with Russia, the NATO military bloc will utilize the 300,000 troops already on the border with Russia in the first month. NATO will then attract up to 3.5 million troops, according to Admiral Bauer, the head of the military committee of the North Atlantic Alliance. Where do they think they're going to get those 3.5 million troops? Why, you and your children, of course, ready to go fight and die for the armpit of Eastern Europe, meaning Ukraine. Are you ready? Admiral Bauer noted that NATO's new regional defense plans involve further reinforcement on the borders with Russia in case of a possible confrontation. If they attack, we must be ready, so we need more militaries at a high level of readiness, and that's not something that can be done overnight. They will need training, weapons, ammunition, everything else. Therefore, we are talking about 300,000 military personnel at a high level of readiness. In total, NATO countries, together with Finland and Sweden, have 3.5 million troops, said Bauer. Rattling sabers will not help. Sooner or later, Russia will complete its plans for its new northern military district, and NATO knows about this. NATO, the clown force, defeated by horseback riders from Afghani caves. Don't forget. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Looks like they might want to try and bring back the draft, huh? Well, this individual will not be going to fight in the armpit of Ukraine, the armpit of Eastern Europe. I don't know about you guys. There is no chance. Zero. Zilch. Nada. So some of the other articles he's got on his website. Video, tractor trailer carrying nuke warheads on the move in North Dakota. I know some of you guys think there are no such thing as nuclear weapons. You can go ahead and believe that if you want to. What about when the bombs from whoever sends them, whether it's from our own side, bombing our own cities to blame it on Russia, or if they actually come from Russia, when they start falling, if you are still in the camp of, oh, there's no nuclear weapons, you might probably, my guess is, you will probably change what you think if you're still around and not dust particles by that point. A tractor trailer carrying nuclear warheads was caught on video Saturday afternoon in North Dakota. The truck was being escorted by local police, military police, armored military troops, protected by helicopters. So there's the video. If you want to watch it, there's really not much to it. And how does he know that there's nukes in the truck? How do we know that? Well, you can assume, I guess, based on the amount of troops involved that are surrounded this truck, that that's most likely what's going on. I mean, it's possible that it could be something else, but what else could it really be? So, and then, of course, Hal's got the video from somebody there who is on the ground who knows what it is, I guess. Says Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota is the most well-known nuclear missile base in that area of the country. All the missiles in that base are already armed, so why the additional warheads? Under Barack Hussein Obama, the U.S. nuclear arsenal was made much smaller. Missiles that had previously carried 10 multiple independent reentry vehicles, MIRVs, were reduced to only one warhead. Perhaps the U.S. is reinstalling multiple warheads on our existing missiles. Who knows? Who knows? Why would they be doing this unless they are expecting an actual nuclear war? Well, I've mentioned to you guys before what I believe will happen. I think that the East Coast gets hit. I think it will be a Poseidon torpedo, and we'll never see it coming. That's what I think. Whether or not the West Coast gets hit, I don't know. It's very possible. But the Russians have already threatened to use the Poseidon, and if that indeed happens, millions and millions of people will die. And that's not from nuclear bombs raining down, as you guys most likely know. That is from a nuclear tsunami that goes and inundates the coastal areas. And I believe that is what Revelation, the book of Revelation, chapter 18, is talking about. New York City and or the East Coast being wiped out. And that goes for D.C. as well, or whatever is in its way. Yeah, and it will remain nuclear. It will remain radioactive for centuries to come. And I believe if you read through Revelation 18 and you are looking for a city to fit the bill of the description there in Revelation 18, New York City is the best fit for that city. And I think that's what will happen. When will that happen? I have no idea. But I do think that will happen. I don't know that the Americans have that sort of technology to do it to ourselves. Therefore, I believe when it happens, it will be Putin and company. But he will probably, in my opinion, only do this as a result of a defensive move, a retaliatory move against NATO and the NATO countries who strike first. That is what I think will happen. I think they will hit somewhere in Russia proper. Could be Moscow, could be one of the other large cities. It's really hard to say. But that's how I see it unfolding. A NATO hit first against Russia. Russia responds in kind with possible nukes flying, but probably a Poseidon torpedo. East Coast wiped out. That's what I think. I think that's where we are in this this piece of history known as end times. We are definitely in the end times. And if you guys don't already know what I think about the whole thing, I've made a series about it called End Times Dates. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on Rumble as well. It's on my Rumble channel and BitChute and Brighteon and the other channels that I have. They're there if you want to watch them. And I go into great detail as far as this particular timeline, and we've talked about it at length before. So we'll save that for another time. But you guys know, most of you, what I think about this as far as the timeline goes. I think Jesus returns in 2028. We're not that far off, almost exactly 5 years from right now. So, and then you say, oh, well, no man knows the day or the hour. That's the next words out of your mouth, right? Well, no man knows the day or the hour is simply Jesus's description of the Feast of Trumpets. That's what it used to be called. No man knows the day or the hour. Meaning, no one knows when the feast will start because it's dictated by the sighting of the sliver of the moon. You'd have sentries that would go out and watch for the moon sighting. And as soon as they can see the moon, then they could declare that it was time for the Feast of Trumpets. And that is what he was describing. So he was literally saying when he was coming back, he just didn't say what year. No man knows the day or the hour means Feast of Trumpets. So again, look at part 1 of End Times Dates if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Updated: North Korea to send 300,000 to 500,000 troops to assist Russia. Flash traffic, this is Hal Turner talking again. North Korea has agreed to send 300,000 to 500,000 troops to Russia to assist with its special military operation in Ukraine against NATO. So how about that? First deployment will be about 20,000 soldiers to assist with logistics. And then there's an update here with some pictures of some of their different, I guess, rocket launchers and stuff like that. So it looks like North Korea is getting involved as well. Fits right into the end times scenario, as so many people have talked about. And wait, yet again, another railcar explosion with toxic chemicals. It's almost a daily thing around here. It's just a daily fun fest around here when the train cars keep crashing, blowing up, exploding, and then wiping out all kinds of whether it's farmland or residential area where people have to leave. So it says rail cars exploded is burning in North Platte, Nebraska. Now this is dated the 14th, so 3 days ago now. Hopefully the emergency's over, but I have no idea. So I have one other article pulled up on this. An evacuation area of 4 miles is in effect around the rail car. So it says the U.S. Air Force deployed a nuke sniffer plane to fly over the scene. So that's kind of interesting. This other article here on naturalnews.com, another train accident, quote unquote, in Nebraska just released massive plume of perchloric acid. Evacuations ordered for a 4-mile radius. Another freight train, this one owned by Union Pacific Railroad, has exploded in Nebraska rail yard, sending up massive plumes of toxic perchloric acid. Reports indicate that the incident occurred in the city of North Platte in the early afternoon hours of September 14th, prompting an evacuation order of a 4-mile radius around the city. So I didn't know if you guys knew about this. They're happening so frequently now. It's almost like some of the news outlets are reporting it, but it's like kind of oh-hum at this point. Ho-hum that there's another train accident. Ho-hum there's yet another chemical spill. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know. But that's on naturalnews.com. Creating God. AI may be the last invention of mankind. One candid AI engineer were creating God, quote unquote, as these technocrats barrel toward their goal of AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Their public persona is disingenuous as they warn of dangers and the need to slow development. As superintelligence emerges, it will be accepted as God. Display powers like God and take control over mankind. So if you're not afraid of AI, you should be very afraid. No, I'm just joking. I'm not afraid of AI. I don't know about you guys. I don't think AI will have a chance to really do what they want it to be able to do, because again, going back to, I believe, where I think we are in the end times, I don't think it will have the time necessary to really take over like they're saying. So I'm personally not afraid of AI, although I can see and do think that it will probably force a lot of people out of work, at least in the short term, as far as replacing them with not necessarily robots. There's that as well, but it's really more the algorithm situation where it's a computer program replacing someone who had some other job, and now they're no longer able to do it because AI can do it better and faster and free. So that's very possible. So I do think it will affect people. I don't think it's going to take over the world. So anyway, this is another article on technocracy.news, and on the heels of that, here's one more. In the global race to regulate AI, no one is quite sure how. In a never-ending exercise in futility, regulators and lawmakers are quickly coming to the conclusion AI can't be corralled. It runs circles around rules or laws, and the genie is already out of the bottle. AI is running at warp speed while humans are running at skateboard speed. Alas, there will be wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth. Where have you heard that before? The gnashing of teeth part, anyway. Yeah. So, again, talking about, let's see, OpenAI, Google's DeepMind, Microsoft, and others. So, feel free to take a look at this if you want to. Lots of good technocracy-related and technology-related articles on this particular website. Computer scientists offer evidence that CCP satellites were over Maui at the time of fires. So there was a really good Greg Reese report on that, which I've got that video queued up here. We'll look at that in a second. If you haven't already seen it, it was good, talking about this computer science expert who has basically figured out that the Chinese satellites were right over the top of Hawaii as these fires were being lit. So does that mean that China is responsible? We've got people saying there's no way China is responsible, and we have other people saying, yes, China is definitely responsible. I personally don't know. I don't think there's any way we can actually know, but we do know that multiple things happened in Maui. And we can say for certain that the trees were not trimmed on purpose. The power was left on purpose so that when the geoengineered weather that created the storm, the high winds and such, blew the trees down. They've collapsed. The branches collapsed on the power lines, caused a spark, and of course the high winds made it catch fire and just spread it like wildfire. So we know that's part of the story. We know there was no water to be had, apparently, to put out the fires. And we know that there were no sirens either. So there was all these things that are provable. There's also the mountain of evidence. I would say that it's really pretty much indisputable at this point that some sort of additional energy weapons were used, whether they were microwave weapons, directed energy weapons, who knows? We just don't know. And if China was involved, that's very possible. I mean, we do know about the green scan lasers that were happening months prior to that. So there's a lot of really interesting things about this whole Maui situation, and it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So let's watch this video, this Greg Reese report. If you haven't seen it, it's certainly worth a watch. It's called CCP Satellites Over Maui at the Time of the Fires. So here it is.
Steve Favis is an expert in computer science and advanced robotics. He has been researching the Maui fires and has compiled evidence that the technology exists to have started these fires from a satellite in Earth orbit. He has also confirmed that the CCP had satellites capable of doing so above Maui at the time of the fires. His work has been published on his website, stevefavis.com, and includes everything you need to recreate these findings. The most efficient way to ignite a fire on the surface from a satellite in Earth orbit would be to paint the target in segments by pulsing the laser with an advanced targeting system. To see if this were possible, Favis calculated what it would require to create a meter-wide, mile-long fire. Fired from a satellite, the Earth's atmosphere will absorb and scatter some of the laser energy, and so the laser would need to be in a wavelength range that minimizes this. The most effective wavelength would be in the near-infrared range, which would allow better transmission through the atmosphere. The near-infrared range would be invisible to the naked eye, and would also have a minimal reaction with objects colored blue on the Earth's surface. The power of the laser would need to be in the hundreds of kilowatts range, and so Favis based his calculations on a 10 megawatt laser firing from Earth orbit. Assuming that the atmospheric loss amounts to 50% of the overall power and only 5 megawatts reaches the surface as a 1 square meter beam, it would ignite a fire almost instantly. If this 5 megawatt beam was pulsed across a 1 meter by 1 mile long area in segments, then the time to ignite the entire area would be roughly 2.7 minutes, and it would only take approximately 8.8 seconds to melt an aluminum alloy wheel. The amount of energy required to pulse a 10 megawatt laser for 2.7 minutes would require approximately 3,220 capacitors, which would amount to about 32,200 kilograms in weight. Using MATLAB software and plugging in public data provided from NORAD, he found that satellites launched and monitored by the CCP were directly above the Maui fires at the time of ignition. The CCP's most powerful rocket, the March 5, can launch up to 48,500 kilograms of payload, which is more than enough to carry the required payload in Favis's calculations. But Favis has found that the CCP has much more powerful lasers deployed already. He has calculated that the CCP has up to 70 gigawatt lasers in Earth orbit right now. That's at least 100 times more powerful than what he factored into these calculations. Adjusting NORAD's default Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC, to the local time zones, Favis found the following. The Olinda Fire was ignited at approximately 10:47 p.m. on August 7th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 53299 was directly over the location. The Lahaina Fire was ignited at approximately 6:37 a.m. on August 8th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 55836 was directly over the location. The Kula Fire was ignited at approximately 11:30 a.m. on August 8th. At this exact time, CCP satellite labeled NORAD 53299 was directly over the location. And you can check this all for yourself at stevefavis.com, where he provides the source code and has developed a specific software program that you can download and check for these satellites yourself. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Yeah, so you can certainly make up your own mind on that. It seems to me like Greg has put together a lot of details there, and so has Favis. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Chinese military were involved. I do think that the Chinese military is mentioned by John the Revelator, only he doesn't call him the Chinese military. In the book of Revelation, when he's describing in there, and I mentioned this in part 2 of my End Times Dates series, where he's talking about various colors and part of the army, the 200 million strong army, which the Chinese definitely have. They have a 200 million strong standing army at this point, and it's very possible that the Chinese military was involved in this whole thing with Maui, just like they were involved most likely in the creation of the crazy CV-19 virus and all of that, which again only really ever needed to exist in the computer to cause all of the harm that it did. So was it the Chinese military that was doing the do's in Maui? It's very possible. I have no idea, and your guess is as good as mine, but I think that that video does provide some decent evidence there. And I never really noticed this before, but look how much this looks like the upper torso of a human head. This looks like the forehead here, and this is the nose and chin. Is that an accident? And then over here, this could be someone's heart. It's very strange. I just now noticed that. Maybe you guys already had. So yeah, very interesting. And my good friend Dave Hodges has put out a video recently saying there's no way China was involved, and then that there's proof that there's no China, that China couldn't possibly be involved. But I never did see the proof in the video, so I don't know if I missed it or what. But he may be right. It's very possible. But I do think this video does provide a few details that you can definitely take it to the bank. I do think that it's very possible, too, that the globalists have China in their back pocket as well, at least to some degree. And, they could have offered them who knows what. They could have offered them land. They could have offered them more money, more power. Who knows? But it's very possible that they were involved. So anyway, think what you want on that. I do think it's definitely getting weirder and weirder. Retired fire captain and forensic arborist analyzed the Maui fires. This is a story that rightfully so shouldn't go away because there are just too many questions with this thing. And you'll see in a minute here, I've got an article pulled up where they're backing down. They're decreasing the official death toll instead of going the other way, which we all know, thousands of people are missing. So what is going on? Retired fire captain Matt Dakin analyzed California's Paradise Fire and described that it was similar to fire when metal is put inside of a microwave. He compared it to the recent fires in Maui. Forensic arborist Robert Brames explained the burn patterns of recent fires are very unusual as Tree leaves, twigs, and branches did not burn, but buildings were destroyed down to white ash. He said that he thinks the fires were caused by satellites due to the focus on certain areas for hours. He based his conclusion on evidence he had collected from numerous fires, including the Maui fires. So again, this is on needtoknow.news if you want. And this article, like all the others, I will link to in my Substack post. So if you're not on there, jump on that list. It's totally free. You'll get an email tomorrow when I send out all the links on all the articles I talk about tonight. And Oprah and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, people are calling this, these two that we're looking at, they're calling them Black Rock. Because you got Black and The Rock. Get it? Whatever. Face blowback over Lahaina fundraiser racket. So yeah, they've got all these billions of dollars and they're trying to sponge it out of all of the people in the rest of the world instead of just forking over the money, right? Oprah, who has reported net worth of between $2 billion and $3.5 billion, has disabled comments on her Instagram posts shortly after she asked for donations to help the victims of the Maui wildfires. Oprah owns over 1,000 acres of land on Maui with over 800 acres of undeveloped agricultural land. For comparison, she owns more land than Central Park in New York. Oprah was joined by The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who has an estimated net worth of $800 million, to solicit donations after claiming they both contributed $10 million to kickstart the People's Fund of Maui. So that's why they're calling them BlackRock. I totally understand that. So, and then it says a critic wrote, "Please don't tell me I just saw a billionaire standing next to a millionaire begging the average everyday citizen for donations that barely able to get by due to a recession in a country where Biden is giving away all of our resources." Yes, but it's actually far worse than that. Anyways, she's disabled her comments on Instagram. Oh, I know you're sad. I'm so sad. Anyway, yeah, they're out there holding out their hands, and then never mind the fact that apparently they must have had blue roofs because they didn't lose their houses. Or at least she didn't. I don't know about Dwayne. He may not have a house there. Maybe he can't afford it. New Mexico governor declares health emergency to enact temporary 30-day gun ban. So we'll see how far this goes. I think I mentioned this maybe in the last broadcast. Last week, New Mexico Governor Michelle Grisham, a Democrat, declared a public health emergency in order to suspend laws. It's not possible to even do that, but whatever, that allow open and concealed carry of firearms in Albuquerque following several shootings that killed 3 children. The ban is for 30 days. New Mexico State Representative Stephanie Lord, and John Block called for the impeachment of Governor Grisham over the public health emergency to strip the right away from law-abiding citizens to carry firearms in public, which, of course, you know, she tries to do this stuff, and all it does is it hurts the people who obey the laws. It doesn't hurt the criminals because, by definition, they don't obey laws. But these people have no idea about that, apparently. No, they do. They just choose to ignore it. That's all. That's far worse, actually. This is an abhorrent attempt at imposing a radical progressive agenda on an unwilling populace. Rather than addressing crime at its core, Governor Grisham is restricting the rights of law-abiding gun owners. So, yeah. And I've got another article pulled up on this, so we will read a little bit more about that here in just a minute. So that is on needtoknow.news. So is this one. I mentioned him earlier. InfoWars host Owen Schroyer, whom I've met before. He's a nice guy. Sentenced to 60 days for entering restricted grounds. Yes, I've seen the map, the restricted grounds map. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically almost all of Washington, D.C. Almost the entire area. There's no picture of the map here, but I've seen it. It's a little crazy. So yeah, Schroyer is going to prison for doing nothing, literally nothing. Actually, you could even make the point, you could argue the point that he has, he was actually trying to keep people from breaking the law, and yet, look what's happening to him. So you guys know about the alien bodies. I've had a few people ask me about this. Mexican Congress holds hearing on UFOs featuring purported alien bodies, and I saw the video footage of it. Well, here you can kind of see. Let me see if it shows in this video here. Let me mute this. Paul Joseph Watson talking there. Yeah, so you can kind of see, not that, you can see how small they are in comparison to the guys. So who knows? I mean, I don't know if they're real or not. I have my doubts just because of the way that the whole story came about, coming from the Mexican government and stuff. I mean, it's not like they've lied much before or anything, huh? But they were supposedly from Peru. I've been to Peru. I've been to where, very close proximity to where these bodies were supposedly uncovered. Cusco, Peru. I've been there a few years ago, actually, with Tim Alberino and some other good friends of mine, and he has made a really good video on that. I didn't queue it up, but you guys can find his channel, Timothy Alberino, on YouTube. If you haven't already seen it, he did a video on this where he's basically saying what I also think is that, he doesn't really believe that it's legit, but there's no way to know for sure. I would say take a look at the video if you want to. It's a very recent video on his channel. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I do think that there are such things as aliens, but I don't believe that they are space aliens. I think they are beings that have lived here on this planet, underground and undersea for a long, long time. Whether these critters from Peru are real or not, who knows? They could be. But there's no way to know. Just no way to know. My guess is, so much of this kind of stuff is just total fakery. Well, here, let's read this little blurb here. Mexican lawmakers heard testimony that we are not alone in the universe and saw the alleged remains of non-human beings in the country's first congressional event on UFOs. Politicians were shown two artifacts that Mexican journalist and longtime UFO enthusiast Jamie Maussan claimed were the corpses of extraterrestrials. Similar such finds in the past have turned out to be the remains of mummified children. Maussan faced swift backlash and criticism from skeptics who questioned the authenticity of his presentation. Yeah, and I think Tim mentioned in the video I'm talking about on YouTube how this whole story from a few years ago now about this fairy that was supposedly found that was all fake. It had some real animal parts literally super glued together. So this could be something like that, or it could be something that is totally 100% legitimate. There's no way to know. But the area where they were found is, it is a place where they have uncovered lots of other legitimate finds before, and it's a very arid place, so stuff could stay there and not break down over many hundreds if not thousands of years. So I guess it is possible from that standpoint. So anyway, your guess is as good as mine on that one. Very strange though. UK comedian Russell Brand accused of rape and sexual assault, just in time to throw him in prison. Let's throw him in prison too. He'll be right next to Owen Schroyer. This is like about as obvious as it gets as far as the timing goes. Brand is out there making quite a bit of a difference now. So, of course, they're going to charge him with everything they can possibly charge him with. He wasn't there, I guess, on January 6th, so they can't throw him in the pokey for that. But they can make stuff up about him. I'm not saying that he's totally innocent. I have no idea. I don't care. But the point is, timing-wise, you can see it coming a mile away. This is obviously an attempt to take him off the scene. He's pulling in literally millions of people that are listening to what he's talking about, and he is not. And he's got a bandwagon. So, therefore, you must pay with your reputation, with your life. So, anyways, I like Russell Brand. I think he's a fine, upstanding individual. So, I don't know if it's true or not. If it is true, obviously, he's going to come out and try and say that it's not true. I don't know exactly what all's been said, but says 4 women have alleged sexual assaults between 2006 and 2013 when Brand was at the height of his fame, working as a presenter for BBC Radio 2, UK's Channel 4, and acting in Hollywood movies. So who knows? I mean, it's the timing that you have to seriously wonder about. And the fact that he has so many people that are definitely listening to what he's saying, and therefore he's a threat to the power structure. So, and speaking of entertainment, sports columnist just shared an interesting new theory on why the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball went woke. I'll just read this bit, but this is actually from a former player, I guess, Jason Whitlock. Don't know. But says many conservatives would love to see a Nike boycott. A lot of this article is about Nike and their power, which they do have a lot of power for sure. They would like to see a Nike boycott similar to the Bud Light one. Unfortunately, that is highly unlikely. Nike primarily caters to a younger crowd, and many young people are clueless and often align with the woke ideology. Love them or loathe them, Nike possesses a shrewd marketing strategy. They're not just selling sneakers, they're selling emotion. Their iconic tagline, "Just Do It," stirs a passion for sports. Nike is all about purchasing a feeling rather than a shoe, which is a huge reason why Nike is so popular and so dangerous when it comes to peddling woke ideology and influencing young minds with left-wing radicalism. Parents can take action by not purchasing Nike products for their children and discontinuing support for sports franchises that embrace the failed woke ideology. So anyway, there it is, and there's more here on this article about Nike and the like, but I thought that was kind of interesting. I do think that it's certainly them and other large companies like that, but they're one of the biggest out there for sure, involved in sports, with all the sports franchises and so forth. So yeah, all the endorsement deals. Big money. I saw this and was like, man, I'm glad I wasn't on this plane. United Airlines flight to Rome plunges 28,000 feet in 10 minutes, then reverses course. How'd you like to be on that wild ride? No thanks. United Airlines flight from Newark to Rome took a terrifying turn Wednesday when the plane plunged more than 28,000 feet in just 10 minutes, was forced to reverse course back to Jersey. Never made it to Rome after the Boeing 777 experienced an issue with its cabin pressurization. You think? Forcing the plane to rapidly drop and the pilot to turn the aircraft carrying 270 passengers and 14 crew members around. The plane took off from Newark at 8:30 and landed back at the airport at 12:30 instead of its planned destination of Rome. So, man, and kind of goes hand in hand with all of the railway catastrophes that have happened lately. Luckily, the planes aren't exactly falling out of the sky, but we do know that there are a lot of pilots who are flying who are having issues, medical issues and so forth. Although this one could very easily have just been some sort of mechanical failure. We've got all kinds of crazy things happening with not only crews being short-staffed, but so are the crews in the hangars where they're actually doing the maintenance and stuff. They're a bit short-staffed. So who knows? It could have been some sort of mechanical malfunction in this plane. But that would not have been a fun one to be on, that's for sure. It says a loss of cabin pressure. So that would definitely do it. Crazy. Sea is constantly dumping bodies. You guys knew about the flood in Libya, I guess. Fears Libya flood death toll may hit 20,000. Man. Full scale of devastation in North African nations still not clear as aid agencies struggle to reach cut-off areas. International aid is slowly starting to reach the devastated port city of Derna as questions are raised over how as many as 20,000 people may have died when Storm Daniel hit the northern coast of Libya on Saturday night. 10,000 people were declared missing by official aid agencies such as the Libyan Red Crescent, but the ominous higher estimate of 20,000 deaths came from the director of Al-Baida Medical Center. So corpses still litter the street and drinkable water is in short supply. The storm has killed whole families. And with the remoteness of some villages and the rudimentary nature of municipal government, it will take time for the death toll to be confirmed. So sad. Look at that. Unbelievable devastation. And I don't know about you guys, but I barely heard a blip about this. I mean, I knew about it. I saw it in a few places that I normally watch, but I was sort of surprised a little bit at the lack of coverage in this, because it's something that they are absolutely blaming on climate change and more floods, which of course is climate changed from geoengineering. yes, climate change is real, but it's because of geoengineering, not because you have air conditioning in a car. So, anyway, this is on The Guardian. And along those lines, after Morocco, Israel could be the next to suffer a massive earthquake. I saw this and I was thinking that this is something that I've been talking about. I do think that Jerusalem in particular will have a big earthquake at some point. I don't know how devastating it will be. I wouldn't go that far. But if you look at, let me remember where I'm at. If you look over here on my events timeline, which it's more of an event line, not really based on dates, but this particular thing is something that I came up with months ago that I've talked about. And right here, you'll see this massive earthquake in the Middle East. And I think that will lead to a few other things happening, part of which is the revealing of the Ark of the Covenant. So just remember that. Keep that in mind. Let's go back. After Morocco, Israel could be next to suffer massive earthquake. Israel is located at the juncture of the African and Arabian tectonic plates and therefore faces an elevated seismic threat. Experts say a major earthquake is not a matter of if, but when. They always say that. Israel may soon witness similar scenes to the devastating ones seen in Morocco due to the government's failure to prepare for an earthquake, which experts predict could happen here. This is from Jerusalem Post. That's why it says here. This sobering message was delivered by the state comptroller in a video address on Sunday. 6 months ago, it was Turkey, he said. On Friday, Morocco faced a fatal earthquake. The state of Israel continues to neglect earthquake preparedness. Despite these stark reminders, instead of waiting for an investigative committee after a catastrophe, it is imperative that the Prime Minister and the pertinent ministries promptly address the country's shortcomings. Why will Israel face a devastating earthquake? And then, of course, it's going into more political and scientific explanation as to why this will happen. I think that there will be one just based on biblical explanations. Yes, you could throw the other things in there as well, scientific and political, but there are tectonic weapons, and I have no idea if it will be a natural earthquake that will happen, but I do think that that Israel will get hit with an earthquake sometime within the next year or two. Just a guess. We will see what happens. Hopefully it won't be too terrible, but I do think it will be large enough to knock down the wall that is separating the people and the ability to get to where the Ark of the Covenant is. And I've covered this in several different videos. We've talked about this for what seems like years now at this point. The Ark of the Covenant, where it is, cannot be touched, but the Israeli Antiquities Association, they know where it is. They know where it is. They just can't go touch it. I do think, though, that God will allow something to happen to where they will be able to go in there at some point. But it probably won't be until the third temple is built. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Pretty interesting, though, finding that out about the earthquake potentially in Israel. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. breaking assassination attempt of RFK Jr. rocks the nation. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure how much it rocked the nation. I knew about it. I saw it on some of the alternative news platforms that I look at, but I'm not sure how much it was really talked about because, lo and behold, the Biden administration turned down his request for Secret Service for protection. Even though he is a viable candidate for the office of President of the United States, the Biden administration wants to make sure he is unarmed and therefore very vulnerable to an attack. So this is what happened. There was outrage in Los Angeles after it was revealed that an armed man with a U.S. Marshal's badge and federal identification had infiltrated security while attempting to gain access to the event featuring RFK Jr. One does not need to be a rocket scientist, or more accurately, as Elon Musk likes to point out, a rocket engineer, to realize that this man's intentions were to put yet another Kennedy, who threatens the status quo, 6 feet under. The incident occurred when the suspect attempted to enter a building where Kennedy was scheduled to speak. The man, identified as Jordan Peltz, was carrying a gun and claimed to be working for the U.S. Marshal's Service. He also presented federal identification documents upon request of security personnel who were present at the scene. However, after further investigation by local law enforcement officers, it became apparent that Peltz had no affiliation with any government agency or organization. This alarming news had sparked reactions from many political figures across the country who have expressed their concern about such an incident occurring in a city like Los Angeles. Yes, it's all crime at this point, right? I used to live there, and it was pretty good when I lived there in the early 90s, but man, it is a mess now. And wasn't that where his father was killed? L.A.? Seemed like. Which is home to some of America's most prominent politicians and celebrities, and lots of crime. I would add that. So, yeah, anyway, this is some more info about this guy. RFK's actual tweet about it says, "I'm very grateful that alert and fast-acting protectors from Gavin DeBecker and Associates spotted and detained an armed man who attempted to approach me at my Hispanic heritage speech at Wilshire Ebel Theater in LA tonight. The man wearing two shoulder, I guess it's harnesses probably, or two shoulder guns." Anyways, yeah. More on the Beltway report is where that is, and I've got another article pulled up from the Gateway Pundit on that update. Armed man arrested at RFK Jr.'s rally. Adrian Paul Espero was dropped off by his brother, but the story does not add up, and liberal media is incurious. Not a shocker, I suppose. I wonder if if something happens to him, I wonder if they'll even report it. I guess they probably would, because it helps their side. They want to get rid of him, and he's now threatening to run independent if the Democrats take away his delegates or whatever, so that he can't get the nomination. Which I think he would probably run away with it in an honest and fair process, but that is nowhere to be found at this point. Says they reported this evening, armed man who attended RFK Jr.'s rally in LA was identified by officials on Saturday as Adrian Paul Espero. RFK Jr. had been begging the Biden regime for security throughout the Democrat primary campaign. Biden has refused the request, despite the fact that Robert's father and uncle were both assassinated when he was just a child. RFK Sr. was assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. That's what I thought. In June 1968. RFK Jr. discussed his father and uncle's assassinations with the Gateway Pundit's Jim Hoft back in May. Robert believes the U.S. government was involved in both assassinations. Robert studied the assassinations for decades, as they are both pivotal moments in his life and occurred when he was just a boy. So, yeah, this is on Gateway Pundit, and pretty interesting that, will this force Biden's hand to now provide some sort of Secret Service protection for him or not? My guess is they will double down and say, no, you still don't get it. We'll see what happens. Schumer ditches Senate dress code to accommodate the slob Fetterman. Chucky Schumer has ditched the Senate dress code to accommodate man-child Senator John Fetterman, who prefers to dress like a teenage slob rather than a grown man in the world's greatest deliberative body. The dress code of coats and ties for men and business attire for women will still apply to staff in the chamber. Yeah, and they probably all have to wear masks too. But the slob can get away with it because he is Fetterman. And what I was going to show you, though, was not really so much that, but this. Check this out. Which one is the real Fetterman? So this is all supposedly the same guy. Well, here, let me. I'm kind of in the way here, aren't I? Here, let me turn my camera off for just a sec. You'll still be able to hear me though. Now, which one is the real Fetterman? I have no idea, but they all look like different guys to me. I mean, some of them have the nose bending to the right. Some of them, the nose is bent more to the left. I don't know. What do you think? Says, can anyone explain this? And then it says 1, 2, and 5 can be the same person, but they are not the same as 3, 4, and 6. 4 is absolutely not Fetterman. So, yeah, who knows? I have no idea, but very, very strange. Also, I was going to mention this. You guys know about, if you're football fans, you might know that Aaron Rodgers, who is an avid Sky name, who's stayed on Sky, unlike almost all of his counterparts in the NFL, has had a season-ending injury who knows if it's career-ending, but it's definitely a season-ending injury already in the first game, like on the first play or something like that. But here's what I thought was interesting, and keep in mind that the Daily Crow, which is this website we're looking at here, the guy that runs this website, I've known of him for quite a few years. I believe his name is Matt Peterson, unless I'm thinking of someone else. But he doesn't really do any interviews or anything anymore, but he used to years ago. And he's a numbers guy, and he really comes up with some really interesting, unbelievable connections with numbers and prophecy and the Bible. So this is just a short little example of this, but I thought it was kind of interesting and worth bringing up. Aaron Rodgers leaves the Jets' debut on the first drive in potential injury nightmare. On 9/11 in New York, the Jets, who won the game with 22 points on the 22nd anniversary of 9/11, with the first and only Muslim head coach in the NFL. Those are a few details I did not know about. So he plays for the Jets, and it's 9/11, and they won the game with 22 points on the 22nd anniversary of 9/11 with the first and only Muslim head coach in the NFL. I'm sure it's all coincidence. Isn't that strange, though? I just thought it was kind of interesting and worth mentioning. Musk intends to transfer control of part of Starlink to the Pentagon. Yeah, this is something that AJ has been talking about quite a bit on InfoWars, and it seems like, well, let me just read this. Highlights. Musk has decided to transfer control of the part of the Starlink satellite internet used in the Ukrainian conflict to the Pentagon. Musk's biographer, Isaacson, told about this in an interview with the Washington Post. Isaacson said that according to the entrepreneur, he created Starlink to rest and relax people and not for this equipment to lead to nuclear war. Earlier, Musk called traitors those who criticized his decision not to turn on Starlink satellite internet for a strike on Crimea. Yeah, there are people that are saying that because of that choice, he avoided nuclear war. So, but apparently he's just given up because of all of the pressure he's on. He's handed some of the control, I guess, if not all of it, over to the Pentagon. So that's not good news. But they probably did, use taxpayer dollars to put up most of these thousands of satellites anyways. So we'll see. Says he decided to transfer control of the part of the Starlink satellite internet used in the Ukrainian conflict to the Pentagon. So now, if and when something nuclear happens, you cannot blame Musk for doing it other than he's transferred part of the control. He's not going to be the one calling the shots with that particular aspect of the Starlink system. So pretty interesting. I just thought that was worth mentioning. And then along those lines, WAPO, Netanyahu flying to Silicon Valley to meet with Musk and discuss anti-Semitism on X. Anti-Semitism because Musk has been out there on a jag against the ADL, which has been pretty funny actually, because he says the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL should just drop the A, because they're really just a defamation league. And I would totally agree with that. It says, in the wake of the Ban the ADL movement catching fire on Twitter, X, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly planning to fly to Silicon Valley to personally meet with Musk and discuss, quote, anti-Semitism on his social media platform. Yes, he's probably going to get a lecture. But that will be interesting. I would like to see what happens with that. I don't know if it'll be televised or not, if they'll put out any video clips, but you can bet it will be recorded in some way. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But you can't say anything against, quote, those people. You know that. And Musk is about to learn the hard way, I think. So, and I've heard people say that Musk may be the one that gets taken out before some of these other people that are being talked about as being taken out. Not only RFK Jr., but I've heard people talking about, of course, getting rid of people like Trump and getting rid of people like Biden and getting rid of all kinds of different people. But I'm hearing other people say, no, Musk is probably going to be one of the first ones because he is quickly realizing that he has not been playing for the good guys. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Apple tells support staff to remain silent on iPhone radiation concern. So I don't know if you guys knew about this. Says Apple plans to issue an over-the-air update in the coming days for iPhone 12 users in France after regulators ordered a halt in sales over concerns the device emits too much radiation. Too much. I wonder how much too much is. We will issue a software update for users in France to accommodate the protocol used by French regulators. So apparently they're going to issue an update that takes care of the radiation. No, I'm just joking, but what could that possibly be? The company continued, we look forward to iPhone 12 continuing to be available in France. Well, it doesn't sound like it is. Earlier this week, French regulators ordered a ban on iPhone 12 sales after a specific absorption rate, SAR, test. Sounds like SARS. How much radio frequency is absorbed into a body from a device exceeded European radiation exposure limits. I don't know if you guys are iPhone users. I'm sure many of you are. Anyway, this is just something to be on the lookout for. iPhone 12 apparently has super dangerous radiation, and they're saying that it has, France is saying that it emits, quote, too much radiation. I don't know how much too much is, but I can tell you that any amount is probably pretty bad for your health. So get yourself a EMF meter. You can get them pretty cheaply. You can find them on Amazon and other places. You get yourself an EMF meter and just read how much radiation your phone is putting off. And when you are using your phone, if you're not using Bluetooth, if you're not using Wi-Fi, shut it off. Shut those things off. Because I've done extensive testing with my EMF meter, various cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, in and out of cars, in and out of houses, stuff like that. And I can tell you firsthand that the more things you have switched on like that, the more radiation it's putting out. And a lot of people, people I know, people I'm sure people you know, maybe even you guys, if you're using your cell phone, they just turn on the Wi-Fi and leave it on. Or they just turn on the Bluetooth as well and just leave it on. I'm telling you, you don't want to be bathing yourself in that style of radiation anyway, because it's super bad for your health. But then they magnify when they're on top of each other and switched on at the same time. It's even worse. So now they're saying the iPhone 12 is even worse than previous models. So who knows how much worse it actually is. But yeah, apparently there's, at least France has some sort of limitations that they are saying, no, we don't like this. So I like how Apple says, well, we'll just send an update. That'll fix it. The only update you can have for an iPhone that will fix the radiation is the power button. Turn it off. That's it. That's the only way to get out of it. And if you take a phone call and put it up to your head, you are sending that radiation directly into your skull, which is even a worse idea. So just know that if you guys are around these phones and stuff all the time, you're going to be giving yourself cancer, because that's what radiation does. It's a slow process, but it will happen. So I would just urge you guys to back off on the cell phone usage. Don't put it right up to your head. Use a speakerphone. Set it on a table. Don't hold it if you can help it when you're making a call. And then turn off things like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi when you're not using it. If you're using it for a while, that's okay. Is just know that the more you use it, the more susceptible you are to injury. This is something that I've learned much about on producing shows like Lost Arts Radio and so forth. So health should still be a major concern. So hopefully it is for you guys. Anyways, yeah, that's what the Zero Hedge article here is talking about here with the iPhone 12. Video: Jewish children attack Christian missionaries in Israel. I know you're shocked. I know you are. Shocking video going viral on social media shows a large group of Jewish children cursing and assaulting two Christian female missionaries in Israel with their adult caretakers' full support. So, Zionist children attack Christian tourists. They learned from childhood to hate non-Jews. So here, I'll mute this just because you can't really understand what they're saying anyway, because they're speaking in Hebrew. But it looks like some version of the Jewish Lord of the Flies or something. I don't know. Of course, I'm an anti-Semite just for even bringing it up and talking about this. But whatever. I'm willing to take the risk. You can see these little kids, they're just doing what they're taught to do. And you could say that the Muslim kids would do a similar type of thing, depending on who they're facing. They would probably do a similar type of thing to to Jews. So, it just shows you that, where we are in society. More craziness. So, says you're going to get hurt. One of the Israeli adults tells the Christian woman, as a Jewish child says, you daughter of a bitch. So you can see the kids, they're just, they're ready to cause some sort of a fight here or something. So anyways, there's lots of pictures here on this particular article, but this is on informationliberation.com. So I'm not being an anti-Semite. I'm simply pointing out the fact that this is happening. That's it. And, fellow humans should be concerned for your other fellow humans. That's all I'm saying. And obviously Christians are front and center for getting targeted the most, and no one does anything about it because, hey, it's okay if we target Christians, right? Speaking of which, cauldronpool.com, website I came across today, never heard of it, but it says the ongoing war on Christians, the once Christian West, is now the most anti-Christian part of the planet. The war against Christianity is hotting up. All throughout the West, we find anti-Christian bigotry, vilification, and persecution ramping up in intensity and frequency. The once Christian West is now the most anti-Christian part of the planet. And this website apparently talks about this type of thing quite a bit. So Cauldron Pool is that website. And again, we'll link to this article and all the others on my Substack post tomorrow. You can get on the Substack list. It's free. It's my email list that I reach back out to you guys with. And diamondist.substack.com. You'll see it in the upper right corner up there. And it's right above the shop link as well. So feel free to take a look at that if you have time. And join the list. It's free, like I said. Putin mocks rotten U.S. system for prosecution of Donald Trump. It was quite obvious this moment was coming. Putin has mercilessly mocked the U.S. political system for the Biden administration's prosecution of Trump. This is also after U.S. conservative pundits have long decried those efforts as more benefiting a banana republic, because that's what we live in. Putin presented the whole drawn-out saga as proof of Washington corruption, which further exposes American rottenness. In comments given before the Eastern Economic Forum gathering in Russia's Pacific coast city of Vladivostok, where the Russian leader is later expected to meet with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. So, anyways, I've heard him also say things like the American people aren't particularly evil. It's the government that we have running things, and that's exactly true. Absolutely true. So anyway, Putin gets it. MSNBC columnist said Trump must die in prison to send a message to the public that you can't do this. You can't be Trump. You can't even go against whatever it is the Democrat progressives want. If you do, you're supposed to die in prison and just shut up, right? That's how it's getting. That's how it's. That's where it's headed. Far left MSNBC columnist and radio host Dean Obadala said that Trump must die in prison, quote unquote, to send a message. I think Donald Trump must die in prison because I don't care if he was 45 years old. You should get life in prison if you attempt a coup, which he never did. And there should be no chance of parole, which never happened. I don't care who it is, the radio host said in a recent interview with a reporter according to Fox News. So he's basing his decision on something that never happened, saying that Trump is supposed to die in prison. So there you go. Speaking of which, I have not seen this before. I don't know if you guys have, but this is unbelievable. Full list of Capitol rioters, which of course they weren't rioters. They were simply people who cared about free and fair elections and not the fraudulent election that had just happened a few months prior. Full list of Capitol rioters jailed so far and the sentences they are serving. So this is something that I'm surprised Newsweek would report on, but somehow they did. They must have been bored. Because this is showing 378 individuals that have been sentenced to periods of incarceration over their involvement in J6. The uprising at the U.S. Capitol in the 32 months since the attempted overthrow of the 2020 election, which of course was complete fraud anyway. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you were going against the the globalist system that is in place. So this is the thing that I was really surprised about, was how many people there are. And I knew there were a lot, but I hadn't really seen all their names. And here it is. So check this out. It starts with this guy, Kevin Galetto, at the top here. And watch. I'm just going to page down this list from top to bottom, and you will see they're all here with their names, their ages, where they're from, and why they were sentenced. I'm still going. I'm halfway done, almost. Look at this. These people are all imprisoned for J6 for no reason. They should all be free people. And yet, there's the bottom right there. Jody Lynn Wilson from Ohio. So that's how many people are being punished for something that never happened, my friends. So there you go. And Newsweek, surprisingly, put the whole list on here. Of course, they're saying that they're guilty, of course, and they should all die in prison too, I guess, according to this guy. So anyway, yeah, I just hadn't really seen the massive, huge list anywhere in one place before, but maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. I don't know. News Wars. This is another version of the same Owen Schroyer story, and we'll see what happens. I mean, he's supposed to report tomorrow, I guess. So I don't know if he's actually going to serve time or not. It's looking like he may. Who knows if they will try and Epstein him or something like that. Let's hope not. Owen is a nice guy. I think I mentioned it before. I ran into him one time at a hotel. He was at a conference talking. I was at a conference attending. It was in Branson, Missouri a few years ago. It was one of Steve Quayle's conferences, and he was a guest panelist. And he happened to be staying at the same hotel, and I ran into him, and I had just, like, a couple months before that, had gotten fired from a music job that I had. Long story short, I had gotten fired for my support of InfoWars. I had done a tweet about supporting Alex, and because Alex had just been banned off of absolutely everything. He'd been taken off of Spotify and Facebook and YouTube, and just totally silenced on social media. And all I did was a tweet, giving support to InfoWars and Alex at that time. And the wrong person that I was working for at the time, a music industry person, saw it and basically fired me for it. So I was reiterating the story to Owen, and he listened, and we talked about it some. And that was my interaction with Owen a few years ago. It must have been 2018. It would have been 2018, because that was the year that they totally banned Alex from everything, from all the different platforms. So it's been that long. So anyways, let's pray for Owen, because he does not deserve what he's about to get. Really crazy. Free speech is a good thing, but not if you're a leftist. All right, National Conservative. This is another website that I found. Illegal aliens are starting to get driver's licenses in Minnesota. Yes, you read that right. You heard that right. Like many U.S. states, motor vehicle accident deaths surged in Minnesota after the nationwide George Floyd riots. Now, we're about to find out what happens when an estimated 81,000 illegal aliens, 81,000, are issued driver's licenses. But it's not because they're supposed to be running around on the roads. They're supposed to be voters, I guess, probably, right? Democrat voters. Anyways, just thought you'd like to know, Minnesota's about to sign them all up and give them free driver's licenses. New York City school kids kicked out to make room for migrants. There's no more room in the inn. Look, you're on your own. New York City is not handling the influx of illegal immigrants well, and it's American children who are paying for it. When the children of NYC went back to school, 21,000 of them were turned away due to the arrival of migrant children. At a high school in Long Island City, a line to enter stretched around the block. But don't worry, a 15-year-old illegal immigrant from Venezuela said he's excited for his first day of high school. Not so great, though, if you're a child, an American child, in New York City being displaced by illegals. So anyway, that's what's going on. This is on the Blaze. Yeah, so illegals get all of the rights, they get all of the money, and citizens can just go to Hades and like it. So that's what we're supposed to do. ESPN got wrecked for saying Coco Gauff took a moment to soak in her Grand Slam win when she was clearly praying. Check out the comments. On Saturday, American tennis player Coco Gauff, I guess how you say it, I'm not sure, made her entrance into tennis history by winning her first Grand Slam title. SportsCenter from ESPN shared her win with this post. She took in a moment to soak it all in after winning her first title. No, she was praying. Gauff is an outspoken Christian. ESPN knows this. It says, even if they didn't, anyone from any time in human history until 5 minutes ago would look at this video and say, she's thanking God. But woke ESPN has to pretend God doesn't exist. Anything to avoid saying the P word, like prayer, so she's soaking it all in instead. She's not praying. Yeah. Anyway, just so you guys know, ESPN. No, I know you guys know. It's a good demonstration, though, I guess. Blaze Media, Warner Music. So I'm in the music business, if you guys don't already know. This one kind of caught my attention. Not the plastic little girl here, but the article headline caught my attention. It says, Warner Music signs AI-generated singer with endorsement deals with Dior, Versace, and Kardashian. Yeah, an AI-generated singer. Why they're showing this little being, I don't know. An artificial intelligence-generated avatar released its first song. See, there's no him or her. Its first song under a major record label after several years of industry-backed endorsements garnered the pretend person a major following. Nunori, I guess. There's a lot of O's in that name. Nunori, reportedly created by this person, Zuber, in 2011, released the song Dominoes with 38-year-old German DJ Ali Farben. The video garnered over 160,000 views on YouTube in 2 weeks. Breitbart reported 160,000 views on YouTube in 2 weeks for a hot, popular type of song really is not that much. 160,000. I mean, what did, I think it was Richmond, north of Richmond, had 28 million in just like a couple weeks or something. So this is 160,000. That's a little bit less. But it's AI, so what do you expect? People were probably tuning in just to see how bad it was. AI was used to create the singing voice, which was reportedly based on a real performer's voice that had been altered. So this is the Milli Vanilli version of AI. So we're going to see the actual real human voice model person come out and demand millions of dollars because they sampled his or her, I guess probably her, voice to use as the AI model for this computer program. You watch. When this happens, I'm going to bring it back up because this is what's going to happen. It's just going to be like Milli Vanilli from the 90s, from the late 80s. Remember that? Says the songwriters for the track will split the royalties and publishing rights just like any other song. This is my world. This is the kind of stuff that I deal with. With over 400,000 Instagram followers, Nunori is a rather cartoonish character, but it's often portrayed in bikinis and expensive fashion to emulate an online influencer, which has attracted serious attention from notable brands. So there's your Versace and whatever else. So apparently this is the critter here. Yeah, image of Nunori. So that's what she looks like. I guess apparently she's probably already married several times over in Japan. I'm just guessing. Because I don't know if you guys know, but some Japanese guys have married avatars and like stuffed animals and strange things like that. In 2018 article in Vogue, Australia, the character creator spoke of Dior and Versace sponsorships as well as that of Kardashian. Breitbart noted that the avatar was wearing Kardashian's shapewear brand in the latest music video. So, yeah, it's literally a computer program. There's no clothing involved. It's just software code. That's what she's wearing. Anyway, I just thought I would bring it up because I thought it was very ridiculous. That is where the world is headed. So this is the other Maui thing I wanted to bring you guys attention to. I mentioned it early on. Maui wildfires death toll reduced from 297 from 115, but thousands are still unaccounted for. Thank God fewer people passed away, says the Democrat governor. Yeah, he actually believes that. Fewer people passed away, according to this idiot Democrat governor in Hawaii. Just because they reduced the official death toll from 115 to 97. That's like when they have the radiation measurements. You guys know about this? they'll say, okay, this level of radiation, if you go above this level, is too dangerous. And they'll say whatever that number is. And then so when they go past this number and they're up here, they'll say, okay, this is now the new level that's dangerous. And all they do is raise the level. So that's what they're doing here with the death toll. They're literally just changing it to make them look not quite as bad. But this is only for obviously the stupid sheeple out there who will actually believe what they're saying. So yeah, they're lowering the death toll numbers when literally thousands of people are missing. So speaking of which, I've got one more Maui video here called the Maui Cover-Up. So let's check this out. Here it is.
Shortly after the 1-month anniversary of the heart-wrenching disaster in Lahaina, the locals faced a den of thieves.
When I was on the island last week, I appointed Bob Fenton, one of the nation's leading emergency managers, and I mean that's not hyperbole, who's been on the ground in Hawaii since before the fires erupted as our chief federal response coordinator.
Listen to what Biden said. He said Bob Fenton was placed there specifically for the long-term recovery of Maui. There hadn't been any fire. He was placed there before the fire, which means the fire was planned.
Build Back Better, it's not just a slogan, they mean it. They're talking about building America back in a way that will be, more sensible and have better energy for our people.
Stakeholders disguised as city council members.
Are you engaged? Are you a stakeholder? Are you written? Is your name listed as a stakeholder of any of the redevelopment plans regarding a smart city? By a raise of hands, I would like to see a raise of hands. Because the information is out there. Raise of hands. I can tell you, Department of Planning, DLNR, DBED, Housing, all of these agencies, and I'm not saying to you directly, but you're here representing these agencies, therefore, it is your responsibility to tell the truth.
We know very well that you guys, as the third largest stakeholders, the state, do want that land and can take it when you deem it a natural disaster.
And an army of federal, state, and local goons unleashing the unthinkable.
No, I literally cannot get over there.
That's just the way it is.
Well,
I've been ordered not to let anyone across the bridge, so.
Hey, turn around! I need to go get my kids. Where are your kids? Right at 501, right at the fireworks sign.
They sent all the kids home from school because of the wind advisory, and we found out yesterday that we lost a whole neighborhood of children.
I'm talking 1,050 kids gone without a trace. They have absolutely no clue where these children are. It's like they vanished into thin air.
The Hawaii governor had downgraded the horror, claiming that the number of people missing had dropped to 66, but the locals knew the awful truth.
I think it's in 1,000, not hundreds.
You tell me if it makes any sense. One child is dead. All that destruction that you see, one child is dead. Now they're saying only 66 people are missing. There are 400 plus people they can't get a hold of, which makes no sense either.
You can see a bunch of school buses. These are the school buses that were taken away from the fire by military professionals. If you're looking for the children, they're probably somewhere in this general facility.
This morning on the water in upcountry Maui, the first time toluene was detected in water samples taken from the Upper Kula treatment plant. The lab reports are from August 14th and 16th and detected trace amounts well below the federal and state maximum contaminant level of 1,000 parts per billion.
Toluene is in the water. What they failed to tell you is that toluene is commonly referred to as TNT. Yes, the same TNT that you find in dynamite or explosives.
While local propaganda attempts to brainwash the local Hawaiian people into not believing what their eyes see and their ears hear.
There were some outlandish conspiracy theory claims being made and shared on social media.
Disinformation campaign immediately after the Maui wildfires was spread by China and Russia.
From weather warfare to floating bodies on another island, thousands of missing children to a Maui land grab, experts say the online post can start as genuine concern, but that China and Russia are now using artificial intelligence to amplify it, spread fear and distrust in government.
When you start talking about laser beams and heat rays coming from space, that would take out people in Maui. Come on, let's get real.
Somebody's home security camera, when one of the fires started, it was just an explosion. So they could do multiple pulses. In fact, so they got plenty of time to execute. That's what you're saying, right?
It takes about 2 minutes for a 1 meter wide burst to set fires over a mile. And again, there's atmospheric interference, and that's why it's such an erratic pattern.
Governor Green said on HNN Spotlight Now he'll take disinformation concerns to the president.
Suggesting to our own social media types that there were thousands of children gone.
The problem is that information is so abundant that the Chinese don't even know half of the story. John Bound reporting.
Yeah, and a friend of mine told me that part of the story, I have no way to know if this is true or not, but part of the story with these missing kids is I've heard stories that say, the kids were sent home from school that day. I've heard other stories say that no, the kids were put on buses and the buses disappeared. So insinuating that those kids may still be alive, they're just being human trafficked. How they would get them out of the island, in the process of a hurricane hitting it, hurricane force winds and all the fires, I guess it's very possible. But we just don't know. We don't know if they vanished and they're still alive and they're being sex trafficked at this point, or if they were literally turned to ash like so many other people were. So, or maybe a combination of both. We just don't know. But anyway, I do find it interesting. And the school buses were mentioned in that video, which I thought was very interesting as well. So this article is on Gateway Pundit, so take a look at that if you want to. New Mexico Governor folds, and this is back to the firearm ban, says removes firearm carry ban from emergency order. Within the twin tides of public opinion and legal decisions running against her, New Mexico Governor Grisham has scrapped her plan to ban legal gun owners from carrying firearms in Albuquerque and its surroundings. So this was a trial balloon. This is dated today. So this is brand new information here. This was a trial balloon. They wanted to see how far they could push it, just like everything else that they're doing. So yes, they'll give up this time, but they'll come back again in force as soon as possible. So just keep a sharp eye out, especially if you live in New Mexico. So yeah, very interesting. Kamala Harris thinks government must enforce equal outcomes, also known as communism. While speaking at an event this week, I would say while barely speaking at an event this week, VP Kamala Harris suggested that it is the job of government to ensure equal outcomes. That is the exact opposite of what America is. It's the exact opposite of the founding principles of this country. In America, people have equality of opportunity, not equal outcomes. Equality of outcomes is communism. The people who are leading us don't even understand or like the core concepts of the country, and they tell us with their own words and actions on nearly a daily basis. They understand it, they just don't like it. So yeah, I would agree with that. So here it is. If you want to watch it, I wouldn't advise it because it'll probably just make you mad. Anyway, there it is. SoCal smash and grab thieves steal 23 Rolex watches in 20 seconds in broad daylight. So welcome to Southern California. A group of smash and grab robbers stole 23 luxury watches worth about $250,000 from a Southern California jeweler in under half a minute. Newport Beach is where this was. So you can bet many of the businesses will be heading out of Dodge, meaning LA, very soon. And I wouldn't blame them. I don't know about you guys. So yeah, smash and grabs are happening all over the place apparently in Los Angeles. It's one of the worst places for it, from what I gather. Former NBA player Brandon Hunter passes away at 42 after collapsing at hot yoga. He collapsed at a hot yoga class. I don't even know what hot yoga is, but it doesn't sound very good. In Orlando, Florida. 42 years old, and says he was in good shape as far as we know. We're just shocked. Very sad, though. Yet another person collapses and dies. Ukraine is running out of men as hope of victory fades. I would say that it was over the moment the Russians crossed into Ukraine. Reports are piling up. Just like Ukrainian corpses, of Ukraine's massive losses in the battlefield. A year ago, according to the Telegraph, hopes ran high in Ukraine about an imminent victory. No, it was always a lie. It was never going to happen. That celebratory chorus is gone, replaced by a funeral dirge. Says, it's not an isolated report. Grief over loss is widespread, and the Ukrainian casualties soar with each passing day. The following was published in Ukraine by Ukrainian sources. So, of the 100 residents of this little town who were sent to the front line, who were sent to the front in the fall of 2022, only 10 or 20 remained in service of the 100. So, yeah. Not too surprising. The Russians are running roughshod over them, just like everyone expected to happen, except NATO and apparently the Pentagon. They didn't think that would happen, but we all knew the truth. Warmonger Pence says U.S. military may have to fight if Ukraine loses its war to Russia. In a recent town hall appearance, Republican presidential candidate Mike Pence made a concerning statement that should give every American pause. Pence told News Nation that if Ukraine fails to repel a Russian invasion, the U.S. military might have to step in under the NATO treaty. He says, I'm convinced that if the Ukrainian military doesn't stop and repel that Russian invasion, it's not going to be too long before that Russian army crosses a border that our men and women in uniform are going to have to go and fight for under our NATO treaty. I truly believe it. Yes, but only Congress can declare wars, and Congress has not declared a war in this case. Have they, Mike? No. And that is superseded. That supersedes anything that NATO could do. So no war has been declared, and yet Pence is ready to send your sons and daughters to die. All right. I don't know if Sam's here. I think it was Sam that sent this to me. I thought it was pretty interesting. On Hub Pages, Presidential Bloodlines. Now, this is definitely an article that would be better for you guys to read through. I thought it was kind of interesting. It says, did you know all 43 U.S. presidents have carried European royal bloodlines into office? 34 have been genetic descendants from just one person, Charlemagne, the brutal 8th century king of the Franks. 19 of them directly descended from King Edward III of England. In fact, the presidential candidate with the most royal genes has won every single American election. Do you think that's a coincidence? So anyway, this is a fairly lengthy article with all of the usual suspects. So thank you to Sam for sending this, and we'll link to this in the Substack post. But yeah, I mean, that was basically the summation as to what it's about. And there's more names and people pointed to in the article that certainly worth a read if you guys want to. DHS awards $20 million to program that flags Americans as potential extremists for their online speech. The money will be spent from the Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program, the TVTP. So the Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Program, the grant program, has $20 million to award. So here's what it says. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has awarded 34 grants to as many organizations worth a total of $20 million, whose role will be to undergo training, in other words, brainwashing, in order to flag potential online extremist, quote-unquote, speech of Americans. The money will be spent from the TVTP grant program for fiscal year 2023, while the recipients include police, mental health providers, universities, churches, and school districts. And don't you think they will be standing there with their hands out, ready to turn you and I in? Yeah, not good news. But anyway, there's all the information here about it coming from the wonderful DHS. So yeah, grant program to flag Americans as extremists, which means anything that you say that does not agree with the overarching main message from the political establishment or from the power structure. I won't bother to subject you to this, but just know that it's there and it's really bad. Watch this LGBT affirming church butcher the story of Noah's Ark and the rainbow. Well, this is just awful. A congregational church in Minnesota, again, the same state where they're getting ready to give illegal immigrants driver's licenses, held an interfaith pride celebration service the Sunday before last and used it to sell the false idea that God is totally on board with LGBTQ madness. Just watch how these old liberal white ladies butcher Noah's Ark. Yeah, so this is the video here, and I'm not going to play it because it's so bad and so ridiculous. You guys would probably stop watching. But it is there if you want to subject yourself to it. Says, one of the quotes from the video is, "I didn't think that God has a sense of outrage, but apparently she does. So in a fit of rage, ... That was actually spoken by this person. Look at those kids, really ready those millstones. It says, this is what Satan does to your brain. The end of the story is somehow even more wild. After God destroyed the earth, here's what this woke lady wants us to think. It says, when God saw all of this mess, all these beautiful things and people that had been destroyed by the water, well, he got kind of regretted that. And so God said to Noah and his family, I'm never going to do that again. Even when people do bad things, I'm going to find a way to love them anyway. Yeah. And you know how you can tell that I'm never going to do that again? ? I'm going to put a rainbow in the sky, and every time you see that rainbow, you'll know I'll never do that bad thing again. So God is apologizing to all the people. So that's why the rainbow is in the sky. That's how badly she butchers this whole thing, and it's a mess. This lady wants you to know that God is the one who sinned. Even though the Bible is clear that the flood came because God regretted making man. Genesis 6:6. Due to mankind's rampant sin and wickedness, she wants you to think that God regretted the flood he made in a fit of rage. She is so warped that she thinks God will never judge again because of how evil the flood was. This is the most anti-biblical message I could even imagine. It's the exact opposite of the truth of the Bible. Yeah, and she's telling this to kids, by the way. God will not overlook our sins, as you proclaim. He is coming to judge the living and the dead, and all who live in sin apart from the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ will spend eternity in hell apart from everything good. Of course, that's not the only blasphemous false teaching at this service. There's also this call and response from the depths of hell. So anyway, I will let you guys watch this if you want to, but I've covered most of it. It's really, really terrible. But this is on notthebee.com. They always have lots of really good articles on there. InfoWars, UK health authorities erect biohazard tents following influx of sick migrants and spark fears of deadly virus outbreak. So that's nice, huh? Health authorities in the UK have erected biohazard tents in Dover following reports illegal migrants arriving from France are, quote, unwell, prompting speculation they could be harboring a dangerous pathogen. Have you heard of tuberculosis? Who knows what it is, though. So anyways, that's what's going on in England. All right, vaccineimpact.com. We always look at the headlines on here. We've got a few new ones here since last week. Why did big tech billionaires fund the distribution of sound of freedom? The new right technocrats are redefining conservative politics and religious values. So there's one article. 5.3 billion spent on direct energy weapons in 2022. Is the new age of climate warfare here? Oh, I think it is. I think it's been here for a long time. Mr. Dane's been talking about it for a long time. Exposing the real child traffickers, every foster or adopted child is wanted by someone. The child welfare system needs to be abolished. Concept of the American Christian family is a myth and is not found anywhere in the Bible. So there's another article, and the rest of these are ones that I mentioned last week. And if you missed my broadcast last week, I was on the road traveling, and I'll give you an update on that as well here in just a sec. We're almost through the news. Geoengineeringwatch.org. You guys may or may not know I handle this website for Mr. Dane. good friend of mine, and I do the production part of his Global Alert News show every week. He sends it off to me, and I polish it up and do any kind of editing, things like that need to be done, and put it up on the different platforms. And which, by the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but Global Alert News is available on Spotify. If you happen to be on Spotify, it is there. Just do a search for Global Alert News. It will come up because I post it there every week. And surprisingly, Spotify is not taking it down. I don't know why. We had Lost Arts Radio on Spotify for all of about 2 seconds, and then it was completely banned. No, I uploaded, I don't know, dozens and dozens of shows onto Spotify. This was probably a couple years ago now. And they literally banned us overnight. It was gone. And they just deleted everything. Somehow, though, they don't care too much about geoengineering and chemtrails because they're happy to leave that on there. Apparently, it's just because it's not true. That's why. Ha ha. Anyway, Geoengineering Watch Global Alert News, September 16th, show 423. 8 catastrophic floods in 11 days. What's behind intense rainfall around the world? ? While so many regions are being hammered with devastating deluge, elsewhere, record droughts and firestorms are raging. The incredibly long-lasting Hurricane Lee managed to churn up the superheating Atlantic Ocean while facilitating a temporary cool-down for the northeastern U.S. Through it all, the core component of climate intervention operations continues to be systematically denied. A new extensive study has ominously stated that Earth is, quote, well outside safe operating space for humanity, end quote. What does that mean for all of us? Americans are already being officially warned of the coming scheduled weird weather for fall and winter. What might the weather makers be planning next? Next installment of Global Alert News is below. So there it is there on YouTube. And again, it can be found on Spotify if you're on there, and various radio stations across the country. So yeah, Dayton's reaching more people on terrestrial radio these days than he even is on the internet, which is pretty amazing because he's doing pretty darn good work on there too. But I think that's good that he's reaching people over the airwaves too. So anyway, that is geoengineeringwatch.org. And I wanted to mention this. It's a good friend of mine, Ms. True, Julie True, and I'm producing some new videos for her, and I think you guys will really like her music. It is Christian-based, what's called soaking music. She basically started a new genre of music years ago now. I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or more, and has been putting out albums. I've been working with her for a long, long time, and her music is just awesome. So if you guys want some new music to listen to, relaxing music that will help put you to sleep if you want to sleep better, deeper, I would highly recommend her music. And that's what it's for. It's for soaking in God's presence. That's why it's called Julie True Soaking Music. So you can find her at julietrue.com. And all of the videos here on the top of the page, from stepping out to these top 4 here, are all ones that I produced for her. And it's to showcase certain songs that she has released over the years. So we're going to be putting out about 3 new videos with songs, 3 new music videos. They're not really music videos. They're really featuring the song, and it's a very relaxing sort of, seascape or sky aerial shot or whatever. And it's meant to help bring you into God's presence. And I think if you listen to her music, you will definitely feel that. So I just wanted to mention that because I don't really promote other people's music and stuff that much, but this is a situation where I feel like you guys would probably really like her stuff, and it's really, really well done. I've known her, worked with her for many years at this point, and we're putting these videos together now, and we're putting out 3 new videos every week. So yeah, go to her YouTube channel and subscribe. So yeah, Julie True Soaking Music on YouTube. So let's see here. What else? I mentioned this earlier. This is the End Times events, which we've talked about on other broadcasts. So I guess we can take a look at the comments. We've got quite a few people watching on Rumble, but not too many people commenting over there. So I can't show the Rumble chat room thing here on my screen. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but due to the type of connection that I use, I can't. But I can see the chat if you guys do post anything there. There's a couple comments, but it's not much. But yeah, thank you guys for watching from Rumble. And let's take a look at the YouTube comments. That seems to be where most people are these days, making comments. So yeah, let's take a look. So we're on the Substack page. Before I forget, definitely go there and sign up if you're not already on my list, because you will get the email tomorrow that will have all of the pertinent links on all the articles that I mentioned tonight, and a lot of the videos as well. So yeah, it's free to sign up. There is a mechanism there to donate if you want to. You'll notice that you probably didn't see too many ads tonight because I am ad-free. No sponsors. I do not have any sponsors selling products. I'm not trying to push gold and silver on you guys. I'm not trying to do any of that kind of stuff. I don't really like that myself, so I've decided not to do any of that. So I'm relying on you guys for sharing the show. That's really the main thing that you can do to help me. If you want to financially support, there is a mechanism there through Substack to do that, but no pressure at all. Don't feel obligated. But I mean, I do spend my time, putting these shows together. So obviously it takes a little while, but it's also what I do for a living for other people. So it's not really a huge deal to me. So I'm just glad you guys are here. So Verba Homefront says, how's Mama? Well, yeah, you guys know, anybody who's been following along, I have been on the road some because my mother up in Indiana had a stroke recently. She did not take the Skype. That's not why she had a stroke. I always like to preface that because that's the first place most people go. Oh, well, no, she didn't take it. No, she had some other issues going on, and the type of stroke that she had, it happened on September 2nd. So it's been that long now. The type of stroke she had was the type of blockage. So she doesn't have droopy face like Sir Justin Bieber does. Not that kind of stroke. It really affected her mobility and her speech primarily, and then the ability to chew and swallow and all those sort of things. So the nurses and doctors told me that, her brain is functioning completely normally. Brain function is totally normal. It's just that she can't express herself like she could before. So we're working with that. She's getting better, and she's no longer in the hospital, quote unquote. We moved her to a rehab facility for a while to see how she fares there. So I am going back up there this week to visit with her and to make plans for the next step, whatever that happens to be. So thank you guys for your continued prayers. I sure appreciate it. I know she can use it, and she definitely appreciates it. She has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people praying for her, friends of mine, friends of my wife's, friends of our families, people that we have come into contact with that only barely know her, and then her whole church family and everything else. So lots of people are praying for her. So thank you guys. But yeah, she's doing good. She's little by little, at 81, she's it just takes a while to come back from something like that. So she is she's doing pretty good though, considering everything she's been through. So yes, thank you guys for asking about her. So that's the mom update, and if any other news happens, I'll certainly let you guys know. But she's doing pretty well, and hoping to see her again here in the next couple days or so. So let's see. Hope all is well with your mom, dog, and you. Oh, she means Doug. I get that a lot. Usually what I get is if people text me, it autocorrects Doug to Doe. So I get D-O-U-G-H, or people think my name's Dave. So I'm either Dave or I'm Doe, Diamond. So it's never Doug. No, I'm just joking. Only the people that really know me call me Doug. Everybody else calls me Doe or Dave. No, I'm just joking. But it's pretty crazy out there for sure. September 23rd, this is from Susan, is a huge predictive programming day over a dozen references to that date in Doom-type movies. Yes, and Susan, I did see your message about that. That's really interesting, and you're right. I did know about that. September 23rd is an interesting date, and who knows? That could be an important date coming up, and that seems to be coming up this week. So, I don't know. We'll see if anything happens. I'm one of these people that sees 11:11 all the time. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. Is that a date? Is that scripture? Is it something 11:11? Some verse in scripture I should know about that I don't know about, or what? I don't know. But I see 11:11 almost twice a day. Sometimes I see it 3 times a day. if I'm looking at a clock that's like on Eastern time and then I see it on Central time or whatever. But it's really weird. I see 1:11, I see 2:22, I see 3:33. My wife was born at 3:33 in the morning. It's just really crazy, all these 11s and variations of that. So, yeah, really wild. But, yeah, as far as 9:23 goes, I don't know. That's kind of right during the whole Feast of Trumpets idea. So maybe that has something to do with it. I think that is something I didn't look to see when Feast of Trumpets 2023 is, but it should be right around the 23rd or so, maybe a little bit before that. We'll see. But I may mention that on the next broadcast. Yeah, I just bought both of the 2028 End books. They're great, Kathy says. Okay, good. Yeah, that's my friend who has put together 2028end.com, and I don't get paid for promoting it. I just think that I think he's right. I do think he's right about it. So if you guys don't know about 2028end.com, here, let me show you the graphic here that I've got. This is a graphic courtesy of 2028end.com. We've talked about this before. It shows, Jesus' death in the year 28, which was at the year 4000 in the 6,000 year time period here. And then he returns in 2028 at the year 6000, and that leaves an additional 1,000 year millennial reign. So that is what that's all about. And this even goes a little further when it's talking about the prophetic creation week, where God's creation week, days 1 through 7, is a direct reflection of and foreshadows each 1,000 year period. So this is the kind of thing that's talked about in the video series and also in the book on 2028end.com. So feel free to take a look at that if you guys want to. I do think it's very interesting, and he's really put together some really good info on that. So yeah, Gabriel Ansley Erb is the guy's name, and he's a friend of mine, and he's a fellow Nashvilleian as well. He's here not too far away from where I'm at. So, and I worked on his, I would never have known about his project, by the way, except he called me out of the blue one day in 2018 and said, "Hey, I've got this project. I need to make DVDs. Can you help me?" So he literally hired me to help him make DVDs. We got the DVDs done. We did some Blu-ray production as well, and he is still selling those. And then I had time to sit down and watch it, and I was blown away with the content. That's when I learned that I really feel like Jesus will return in 2028 at Feast of Trumpets. And when people say, when they're quoting scripture, saying no man knows the day or the hour, that's what they're talking about. When he was talking to, and I mentioned this before just tonight, that no man knows the day or the hour was the name of the feast that we call Feast of Trumpets. So that's what he was literally saying when he's coming back, as far as the season goes, not the year. So very interesting. So yeah, thank you. I think it was Kathy that said, Kathy said she bought the books. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's see here. They pulled it off 2020, so they don't need to reinvent the wheel. They may tweak it, according to Kelly. Yeah, talking about COVID and that whole nightmare. Yep, they definitely learned a lot and learned what not to do, but then also they learned what works. And fear is a huge part of the tactic here. Shrewd as a snake, but gentle as a lamb, you are, Doug. Really? Shrewd as a snake, but gentle as a lamb. Well, I guess that's a compliment, so I'll take it. Thanks, Joyce. I get a contrail label on my videos if I show clouds in the sky. William says, wow, really? That's pretty funny. Yeah, they're contrails, not chemtrails. Chemtrails are a conspiracy theory, and you should know better. They don't exist. No, I'm just joking. I work on complete websites that detail exactly what those white stripy things in the sky are. And let's say they are not new formed clouds. They are coming from the backs of planes, and it's being done on purpose. It's called geoengineering. Look it up. Now I know William knows what that's what that is, but I think it's funny that his videos are getting labeled contrails. Wow. Yeah, let's see here. Hello to Tetra, and who else? Jennifer's here. Do you think China got permission from our government to do it? As far as the dues to do it, yeah, I think so. Probably. I mean, if they were involved, I think if they were involved and they didn't have permission, we would be at war with China right now, probably. No, it's part of a bigger picture, in my opinion. It's part of a bigger picture to take the property of Maui, to take that island, Lahaina, that's worth so much money, and to build back better. As you guys know, build back better. They've been talking about it. That's the whole purpose of why the fires were allowed to happen, and whoever else was involved must have a stake in it as well. I think China is probably involved, and it may very well have been their lasers that were the do aspect of what we saw, the not affecting blue things and so forth. So yeah, I don't know, but it's one of those things we'll never know, but we can only speculate. I do think it makes a lot of sense. He who owns the weather owns the world. LBJ, right now, many are challenging each other, Williams says. Yeah, yep. And that video clip of him saying that is in all of Dane's presentations. I should know because I put it together for him. Yeah, Lyndon Baines Johnson, it's before he was president. He was actually vice president when he recorded, or when it was recorded. He was giving a speech. I think it was like an alumni speech at a Texas university. I forget which university, but that's where that's from. He's giving the speech. He's talking about owning the weather. Those who own the weather own the world, kind of that idea, and that's where it's from. It's from that 1961 speech, I think it was, Lyndon Baines Johnson, somewhere in Texas at some college there, and whatever school he went to, I guess, because he had the alumni outfit on. So anyway, yeah, that's what it's all about, and they still are working off of that whole premise too. Emily says, laughing face, the alien bodies, quote unquote. Yeah, I know, it doesn't look too real, does it? You'd think if they were going to make it like from scratch, they would make it look a little more realistic. L.A. Marzulli says the aliens are fake. So what does that tell you? Yeah, I know. I don't think he really got burned on the whole fairy thing, but I remember when the fairy thing was coming out, and he spent quite a bit of time and money, I think, and effort trying to prove or disprove it either way. And it turned out it was like part of one creature and part of another creature, and they just super glued them together kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, Kathy says, L.A. Marzulli says it's fake. It looks pretty fake. I am so ashamed to own an iPhone, Susan says. That's okay. We love you anyway. It's fine. So yeah, I don't own an iPhone, but I have family members that do and swear by them. But yeah, it's bad news. Bad radiation, I guess, no matter what kind of phone. I'm so tired of hearing the word climate change. This is why billions are ruled by a few thousand. People are two-legged sheep. Yes, climate change. I call it climate changed with a D, because it's geoengineering, really. But yeah, I agree. You get tired of hearing it because you have to explain it every time you hear it. I've seen Russell Brand kissing Homo Harari on the face and promoting his anti-Christ, anti-human books. Really? Well, that's sad. I hate hearing that. I like a lot of the stuff Russell says, and he's very articulate. He does a good job of saying things a certain way, but it wouldn't surprise me. He doesn't strike me as particularly someone who would be a Christian believer or anything like that, so I wouldn't hold him to those standards. However, what you're saying is disappointing, because you would think that he would know that Harari and company just want to put the chains on all of us. You would think he would know that. So that is odd that he's promoting his anti-human and anti-Christ type books, meaning Homo Harari. So that's too bad, yeah. Brand is a target, Jennifer says. Yeah, I think so too. It appears as though they are good buddies. Okay, wow, that's too bad. Too bad about The Rock, because he seems like such a cool guy personality-wise, like you want to hang out with him. Meaning The Rock and Oprah, BlackRock, that we're talking about. But to get that financial level, it seems one has to sell their soul. Yeah, I think so too. You don't make it to the top in Hollywood without selling your soul. That's pretty much how it works. Yep. At least that's what I hear. And who knows? I mean, there's a few people that do make it and then kind of make a comeback from that and return back to somewhat normal lives, but not very many. Most people are gone. Smart people teach their children how to self-sustain and learn about fundamental aspects of the world around them. Personal opinion. Sports are all rigged indoctrination now. Yeah, they do seem to be. Yep. especially at the like playoff and finals levels. I think they really are. It is super weird. No one is reporting on Libya, Emily says. That's a lot of people. Yeah, that's what I was noticing too, but I've kind of been a little, because I've been traveling, I've been out of the loop a little bit, but I haven't really noticed all that many people talking about it. You would think they would be screaming from the mountaintops, climate change is going to kill us all, because that's a perfect story for it to happen, but maybe it's because it's Libya, and that's where Gaddafi was, and then, you know, you had Hillary Clinton a few years ago saying, we came, we saw, we killed him, or whatever it was she said. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Yeah, pro sports harvest masculine energy and redirect it to pointlessness, Verb Homefront says. Yeah, I think that there's some pro sports, like I like hockey. I'm a hockey fan, but that's about it. That's about all I watch, sports-wise. But only do that because we have a local team here. That's why. And I enjoy actually going to the games and watching them, and they get in fist fights and all kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting. But in the end, it really is just an act. You know, they're doing it as their job. They're not really mad at each other. It's pretty funny. Yeah, there's 6 different Fettermans. I know. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I know. I don't know if any of them are the real one. They don't even look remotely close in appearance. Yeah, it's so bad on every level. At least with the Biden thing, there's 2 different Bidens or more, in my opinion, and at least they've made him look pretty much the same. At least in the 2 versions I've seen, they've been pretty close. So I don't know. Yeah, it's one powerful video, very grounding. I'm not sure which video that was. Too late for me, Susan says. She must have checked out. I am toast. Been up since 5 a.m. Ooh, that's early. I don't do anything at 5 a.m. I'm out at 5 a.m. There's pretty much no days I'm ever up at 5. So just so you know, don't ever call me at 5. I watched J6 live on 3 different platforms that day. It was my birthday. Oh, Susan, that's right. I knew it was some sort of staged event watching it live. Yep. It was. It's all really a gotcha Trump. It's a gotcha Trump thing. That's all. So they tried, they wanted to make it far worse than it actually was, and people didn't fall for it. People knew Ray Epps was a Fed. You can hear it. You can hear him chanting in the video, Fed, Fed, Fed. They knew that Epps was a Fed, and there were hundreds of other Feds in the crowd. So a lot of people didn't fall for it, and they wanted to make it far worse than it was. I think they wanted a lot more people dead than there were. Yeah, and Ashley Babbitt lose her life. But I think they would have preferred if hundreds, if not thousands of people were killed, and that didn't happen. Luckily, but now we've got hundreds of people being jailed for no reason. So I don't know. If the American people were not evil, why are evil men allowed to run America? Good people do not allow evil people to rule them. Pedos run our nation while we the people allow it. We do allow it, yes. But we didn't put them into office for that reason, I don't think. Plus, you have to look at the gigantic, massive election fraud that's been going on for a long time, and people get in, they're being selected, not elected. So that's part of it. So, you know, you do have a lot of people voting for the wrong people, obviously, anyway. But who knows? I mean, I think that you have a good point there for sure. So it's definitely a reflection of the society. And look at how terrible society is. I mean, we're going through what the Bible said we're going to go through, as far as not just American society, I mean, but I'm talking about the world, and calling good evil and calling evil good, and talking about all of the things that prophetically we're seeing come to pass. We're seeing that come true now, and it's just amazing. And to me, it's like that's the direction that we're headed. And the Bible talks about this, so therefore it's most likely going to happen. And we are seeing it play out in our lifetimes. So, yeah. Dave Hodges and Paul Preston have some great videos on Maui. Okay, good. I didn't know that. Yeah, Paul Preston is a good guy. He's been on, as has Dave, been on Lost Arts Radio a couple times. So I've met and talked to both of them. Of course, I've been a guest on Dave Hodges' show many times. He's a good friend of mine, and I like Dave a lot. He's a good guy. There are many really old tunnels under Hawaii. I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. Emily says, well, hot yoga is hard. Hot yoga sounds yucky. Yeah, I don't know much about hot yoga. I don't know why it's hot. I guess because it makes you sweat, maybe. I don't know. I pray for healing, restoration, and truth to become known and swift justice, Emily says. Well said. Yeah. What if these morons reinstate the draft, and what if it's just not just our sons, but our daughters? It could happen. You know, it's very possible, yeah. I mean, with the idea of, nobody has to worry about anything but their pronouns anymore. Forget everything else. That's all that matters. It does kind of make sense that Biden and company would try and institute something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure that they will. I think there would be outrage at that point, but I don't know that we have time for all that, honestly. I think something big will happen before that's able to really get going, if that's what they're trying to do. Sadly, some people's sons are less capable than some of our daughters now. Anyways, yeah, that's a good point. A lot of soft young men out there. Yeah, and that's, in part due to all of the chemicals that people are ingesting. Not only the chemicals in the plastic bottles and plastic things like that, but the stuff that we're breathing, and who knows? There's so much going on right now. We are in such a toxic soup. Doug, you are so worth supporting financially for the time you devote to condensing the most recent news. Very much appreciated, Susan says. Thank you. Thank you. I definitely appreciate that, yeah. We all love you, Doug. Sam says, thank you. Love you guys too. Oh, Elizabeth is here from New Zealand. Hello. Wow. Neat. I wonder what time it is over there. Yeah, crazy about your 1111, Doug. KJ Osborne always sees that number sequence. He thinks it's a God thing, and he's on the right path. Yeah, I don't really get the impression that it's bad, that it's a bad thing. At least not for me. And it could be different for different people. And I've mentioned before, like in interviews and things that I've done, that I feel like I experience God through numbers. And I don't know why. I actually hate numbers. I don't like doing accounting. I don't like doing anything that has to do with numbers. And yet, that's still a way that God reaches me, because those are some of the first things that I notice. I'll come back to the thing you guys have heard me talk about before. Tim Cohen talking about the Antichrist, talking about King Charles. The first thing I noticed when it was said months and months ahead of time, his coronation to become king will be on 5/6/23. When you add up 5/6/2023, you get 18. 18 is 666. It's the very first thing I noticed. So it's just that kind of stuff. It's just like, wow, that's very, very interesting. And I feel like it's some way that God can touch your spirit and touch your heart and let you know that you're on the right path. Does that make sense? So that's all I'm seeing as far as that goes, as far as numbers. So I do see the 11s a lot and various iterations of that. The car accident that nearly did me in was on April 11th, but it wasn't 2011, it was 2016. So that's a different thing. But exactly 1 month ahead of time, before that crash on 4/11, on 3/11, I had a very vivid dream that I think was a communication, where someone informed me that something bad was going to happen. They just didn't say when. But that was also on 3/11. So, yeah, it is very, very strange. I haven't quite figured it out myself, but if I do, I'll certainly let you guys know. Sam says, I've seen 11/11 for many years. The craziest thing was when I unexpectedly showed up in a Trey Smith documentary on 11/11 he did in Branson at the Gen 6 conference in 2016. I was shocked. Really? I didn't know about that. Hey, send me a link to that. I would like to see that. 2016 Gen 6 conference. First one I went to was in 2017 because it was right after our trip to Cusco. I just mentioned Cusco, Peru, and Timothy Alberino and Steve Quayle and them. I went on that trip. That was a blast. And that was the first one I went to, which is 2017. So, yeah, the one before that, I guess, I didn't know there was one before that, but I didn't go to that one. And I didn't know about the 11/11 documentary. That's interesting. Memes are more powerful than video because they deliver instant impact. Yes, that's one of the reasons they're banned all the time on Facebook. And Facebook still bans you for stuff. I was going to pull up the screen, but I didn't remember to pull up the right screen. I got something that got blocked and banned on Facebook from something, I guess, fairly recent, meaning within the last 10 years, that I've posted on Facebook. They didn't bother to tell me what it was. You guys, if you're on Facebook, may have experienced this, where they'll say that they removed your content and you're bad and evil, but we're not going to tell you what it was and why you did it, or why they did it. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but they do that all the time. They'll remove the content and tell you it's so terrible we can't show you what it was. That's literally what they told me in a post from Facebook. But luckily, I'm able to live stream to Facebook tonight with no problem, so they didn't ban me from live streaming, so that's good. So anyway, that was all of the comments. So thank you guys. Yeah. So let's see. I gave you guys the mom update, and I think that was all that I was going to mention. I mentioned the Julie True channel, which I'm excited about that because that's a good friend of mine, and Julie's husband and I. Shout out to Virgil. He's one of my best friends. He's awesome. He's a great friend of mine, and I think he does catch these broadcasts every now and then. And Virgil was the guy, just so you guys know, her husband, Julie's husband, was the friend of mine who, we've known each other for years. He's the first guy that told me about chemtrails. He was the guy that said, look up the documentary, What in the World Are They Spraying, and watch it. And I did. And my life has never been the same since. So it's all Virgil True's fault. Virgil, this is for you. No, I'm just joking. But he's a good buddy of mine. We laugh and joke about this stuff. But yeah, he's very aware. So anyway, Julie's music on her channel is something, if you've not heard it before, I don't think you'll hear anything else quite like it. She's really that different, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, because I work with her and know her. But I've been her mastering engineer for years, and now I'm doing her video work for these new videos on the top of her channel here. So definitely check it out. I think you will like it. And it's all free. There's nothing, there's no cost involved. You can find her on Spotify. She's on there. And, she's not suppressed in any way because it's just music. So we're not really talking about anything too crazy. It is a Christian message. So you do have that. I mean, that aspect of it, which could get banned, I guess, at some point. So far, so good, though. They haven't done that. So anyway, yeah, here's the Substack page. If you want to subscribe, that's a little bit what it looks like. So just type in your email, hit subscribe, or if you just do no thanks, you get this page. And this is the main blog post page. What you want to do is watch tomorrow. There will be a front and center post here, two different ones. One will say links and one will say podcast. So just watch for that. The podcast is, you guessed it, it's a podcast. It's just the audio version of the show. So this was last week's show, Full Spectrum Deception. So that's the audio version of it. And the links looks like this. So you'll get an email that will have all these links, and the top ones are the actual show, the full show, as I post it back to Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon and so forth. So that's what those are. But then as you scroll down the page here, oh yeah, we'll take a look at the store. As you scroll down the page here, starting with article links, you'll see all the articles that I covered last week. So this is all the things we talked about last week. Here's the video I mentioned last week, Your Car's a Microwave Oven on Wheels. So if you want to watch that video, it's embedded here in this post. So this is on my Substack, Full Spectrum Deception, and it says links because it has a lot of what we call links in it. So anyway, there is the Diamond Report on Substack. So it's just diamonddisc.substack.com. And Diamond Disc is my company name, so I've just kind of stuck with that and used that everywhere because it's the word diamond with ISC at the end. Pretty easy to remember. And it's, like I said, it's been a moniker that I've used for a long time. And people have tried to associate it with bad things. And I'm like, no, it's not a bad thing. It's just Diamond Disc Audio. That's my company name. If you want to say it's a bad thing, I guess that's on you. But, it's been something that I've used for a long time. So anyway, yeah, Diamond Report on Substacks, what that is. And then here is the store page, and we'll have a little show and tell here. Look, I have a couple of products here I brought with me. This is, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I have to switch screens. There it is. There's a water bottle over there on the right. This is it in its full metal beauty here. It says End Times Dates, Take It to the Lord in Prayer. That's what that says. There it is. That's the water bottle. And then here is the infamously named Doug mug. This is the one I bought. I could buy more, I suppose, but I don't really drink any coffee, so I don't really even like hot beverages. I don't know why. I just don't. But this is the Diamond Disc Audio one. This is, let's see. It is, that's my music company. It's this one right there. So yeah, this mug here is the one that says 15 ounce. So yeah, $15. So it's $1 an ounce. Yeah. So anyways, that's what it is. If you drink hot liquids like I don't, then you might want a mug. Or if you only drink a little bit of hot liquids, then you can get the 11 ounce version. I guess that would be all right. But anyway, they're there if you guys are interested. And if you happen to own a laptop, there's a sleeve for it. A lot of people don't even have laptops anymore. I should do phone cases, I guess. They do have phone cases, which I could do if anybody's interested in a Diamond Disc. Well, it would probably be a Diamond Report, I guess. Diamond Report logo on a phone case. They do have them. Here, let me show you. Let me get out of this. This is the store. I share this store with Lost Arts Radio because, as you guys know, I produce Lost Arts Radio as well. So here's the phone cases, kind of what they look like. That's with the Lost Arts Radio logo on them. But we could do one with the Diamond Report logo on there as well. If you'd be interested in that, just let me know. I can set up the design, and you guys can go to town ordering them if you want. But in the meantime, I have already set aside quite a few designs already. Different shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve shirts, sweatshirts. This one is kind of an original, an original concept, an original design. Conspiracy Analyst. And I've got this actual exact shirt too. It's got the Diamond Report logo on the side right here as well. So that's what that looks like. Conspiracy Analyst. And then there's been a few people that have bought the Conspiracy Analyst hat. That's what that looks like. It's the same thing. It's just a colorful hat. And there's different colors available. When you go in here and look at them, you can see, just cycle through the little arrows here, and you'll see some of the different colors. There's some pretty cool ones. So it just depends on what you're looking for, I guess. If you want to get a hat. I don't really wear hats, so I haven't bought a hat. But I have bought some mugs and some mugs and shirts and stuff. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So those are the products that I've come up with. There's a notebook. There's a huge mouse pad. It's about as big as any mouse I've ever seen. Massive mouse pad. Here's a coaster. So yeah, there's several things here. If you guys are interested, if you don't see any products that you want, then let me know what you might be looking for, and we can probably find it in the choice of products. Because keep in mind, these are print-on-demand products. These don't exist except as a design. Kind of like, look, it doesn't exist except it's in the computer. It exists as a computer file. So it doesn't exist until somebody places an order for a shirt or a hat or whatever. Then it's printed and shipped to you. And from what I found out, if you live in the U.S., then it is printed and shipped from North Carolina. So if you're on the East Coast, you'll probably get it a little faster, my guess is. But they may have other printing facilities in other places that are in other parts of the U.S. I don't know. I don't really run any of that stuff. I'm just setting up the designs. So beats me. But it's some of the products are priced a little higher than I would like. But unfortunately, it's because, not because I'm requesting that, but it's because you have the cost in printing the one item and shipping it to you. So that's why it's a little more expensive. I'm not printing thousands of something and shipping them to you from my garage. I am just literally putting the design on there, and then they print it and ship it to you, and it's just that one. So that's why it's more expensive. It's print on demand. So anyway, it works pretty well though, and the quality of the product's really good. I know Sam bought one of the mugs and said he loves it. He says it's really good quality. So that's good. So thank you guys. And here is the YouTube channel that hasn't been banned quite yet. And we talked about L.A. Marzulli. That is what this video here is about. If you haven't seen this and you have some time to waste, you can watch me mix and master one of L.A. Marzulli's UFO films, UFO Disclosure number 6, from about a month ago. I screen captured myself working on the mastering and mixing of that particular film that L.A. has put together. So he does all of the directing and editing and all that stuff. But he ships it to me, and I take care of the sound. I put the sound part together as far as balancing everything out. So that's what that is. So if you're super bored, you might want to watch that. If you're really pressed for time, then you could watch it at 2x and really get a couple of laughs. Or you can just totally ignore it, which is what most people do. So anyway, that's that one, and that's on YouTube. And then here is Rumble. There's the Rumble channel for you guys that haven't seen it before. But yeah, again, it's Diamond Disc on Rumble, DIAMONDISC. Same thing on BitChute, same thing on Brighteon. And let's see here, ClickView as well. That's the other one. And this is my main website that I funnel all of the mastering and mixing work that I do through this site. And then I don't know if you guys, most of you probably don't know this, but I do music placement as well, which is where you're trying to find a really great piece of music to use with a visual. Maybe the visual is a TV commercial or a web trailer or a book trailer or a independent film or a television show or whatever. That could be the visual media, and looking for a piece of music for a certain scene in a movie or a certain scene in a TV show or something. That's part of what I do. That's part of my company, and so that's what that's about when it says placement here on the website: production, mastering, mixing, editing, design, development, and placement. That is the placement part. So yeah, it's called Sync, SYNC, Sync Placement. So there's a whole page on the site devoted to that, and I've done live streams just about that, which I may pick up doing that again. I haven't really had time to do it, but I may at some point do some more live streams based solely on music and giving tips to musicians and artists and bands who are trying to get their music placed in a movie or in a TV show or at least get it to the quality where it could be considered for that. That's kind of my forte is, yes, you can get those placements. Yes, I have gotten many of those types of placements for people before. So I know what those people are looking for. So that I've done music live stream, like licensing tips types things where you're kind of giving tips to musicians and artists and bands and stuff on how they can get their music placed. So that's what that's about. Anyway, diamonddiscaudio.com is where that is. So I guess that's it for me tonight, unless you guys had any other questions or anything. Let me see if I've missed any other last moment comments. I probably have. Thank you, Doug. Another great show. God bless and protect you and your family, Emily says. Continued prayers for your mother. Thank you. Yes. Much love and prayers for you, Doug, your mother, family, and friends here. May God bless and keep us until we meet again, Susan says. Thank you, Doug. Much love. Prayers for you and family. I love my Doug mug. Okay, cool. Thanks, Sam. I feel more confident with every sip. There you go. Well, that's right there. It's worth its weight in gold. Conspiracy analyst. Love that, yes. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. And if you think about it, it really, there really is a huge difference. Because it's not saying that conspiracies are a theory. We're just analyzing those conspiracies because we know they exist. Conspiracies just means, to conspire means to breed together. To conspire. So that's all it means. Yes. Well, anyways, I guess we will call it a night. We will definitely plan to do another one of these probably in exactly a week. I don't think it'll be any sooner. And again, I'll be traveling a little bit. And, as far as I know, we'll be back in time to do the show next week. So that shouldn't be a problem. So we'll plan on that. Otherwise, we will close it out. Hope you guys have a super week this week. I think it will be definitely one to watch. We've got the 23rd in there. So let's see if anything happens on the 23rd. And the 22nd is another big day because they like 11s and 22s. So maybe let's keep a watch out on that as well. So, yeah, hope you guys have a really great week. And I hope it's a blessed one. And keep Jesus front and center in your life because, when it comes down to it, that's all that really matters anyway. Because we all have a very short time. So love you guys. I will talk to you guys again very soon.